Hey everyone, it's Nate with Metrics. Here with our next project, or at least part of it. Basically, what we got, I'm going to be doing a chain of sprocket set on a 2005 CBR600 F4i. This is a project bike that's going to eventually be a stunt bike, so radically changing the gearing here. I'll show you some of those details in a second. So here's the bike. Like I said, '05 CBR600 F4i. The larger plan is a cage, probably a second rear brake. I have a 54 tooth rear sprocket and a 14 tooth front sprocket. So we're going, I think it's down 2 and up 10-ish from stock. We're going to get started on that, and I'm going to try a few different camera angles to try to give you guys a good view of what I'm doing. But basically, get this front cover off, pull that front sprocket, which on some bikes can be problematic. We'll see how it goes. Cut the current chain off and get the rear wheel off and swap that sprocket out. Just want to give some tips and show you guys how you can do this yourself. Make sure to have a sturdy work surface, have the bike secured. You can see this lift has a clamp in the front for the tire, but I also put straps on each side just to make sure she's not going to tip over or anything weird happens. I also have a rear stand under it. Let's get started. We just got to grind the head of this rivet off a little bit so that we can use the chain breaker tool. I do like to use the right tool for that. There are other ways to do it, but that's the one I prefer. I'll show you that tool in a second. And like I was saying, we got a lot of slack here, but we got enough adjustment on tensioners to make that all work. This is the tool for breaking the chain. Motion Pro, they make a lot of great stuff. And I do recommend reading the instructions on this before you just send it. Just taking that, you can see these are the way it comes, and I'm just grinding that off because basically what we're going to do is push that pin through this way, and if that giant head's on there, you're definitely going to break the tool or not get the result you want. Basically what you want to do is leave this so it's recessed in there a little bit, and you're going to put this on the back, so this will line up with the pin on the back side. You leave this end open of the tool. There's other stuff that goes on here, but in this case we just want to leave this open, and we'll snug this up on the chain and then crank this one, which will then push that pin through, and we'll be able to get those extra links apart. Typically these will come with here's the master link. These are press-on rivet, what they call rivet links. So there's no clip or anything. You got to get this on. When we put it together, we'll put these two pieces together, and then we'll realign this, refit the tool with the proper things to basically push this on and then flare those ends to hold it. The kit does come with lube. Great idea to get as much of this in there as possible. Once you sort of put this together, that's it. There's no coming back to do it. And you can see it comes with the new, maybe you can see it comes with the new X-rings put in there also. This one has a ridge along it, which is the back side. So where the rivets were already added by the factory on the link, this lines it up. So that goes in the bottom. It goes in the bottom, and so the thing is going to go over the chain like this, and then we're going to push this other plate in, and you want to try to make sure as much as you can that the rivets that are coming through are going to match up to these holes. It's a little bit wonky because they do want to move around. Alright, I just wanted to show you a close-up of this. I've got the plates partway pressed on. Hopefully you can see there's a little bit of a ridge in here, but they need to go a little further. You just want to make sure you have enough to flare that out and have it hold. There is a specification. You can get out feeler gauges and measure in between these plates and figure that out. So I'm going to get the press tool back on there and give those another once over. So this is the setup for tightening the plates down. One thing I wanted to show, don't want to whale this together because once it's pressed in, you're never going to back it out if it's too tight. What I try to do is just make sure there's good even movement. You can see that link is still turning just fine. It's not moving the whole chain or anything weird like that. You got to turn this, you know, to get it tight, but you don't want it too tight. So if you're concerned, go and look up the details and figure out for your chain and sprockets, whatever, what those specifications are. You can use a feeler gauge if you want to, and I recommend that if you haven't done it before, just to get that feel right. So you can see now, hopefully, there's quite a bit of that rivet pin sticking out. That's the material that's going to get flared to basically make sure that chain can't come apart. I've got the Motion Pro tool here set up. Got a little anvil in the end, which goes on the back side like this, and then you basically crank that outer nut in and pushes this pin down, and that's what essentially flares the end of this. So I'm going to get this done, and then I'll show you guys the result. One thing you don't want to do is tighten this inner bolt straight up to the chain, because what that'll do is it'll leave a round impression. It'll scrape the color off your chain. It'll just look bad. So when you're putting this together on here, leave a small gap so that this moves freely and isn't tightened right up to the link of the chain, and then tighten the inner, which is going to push that rod up to the rivet. Leave this one backed off from the chain a little bit so there's a gap in between the link and the tool, and tighten this one down, and that's going to basically flare the end of that rivet. Use a wrench on the inner one to hold it once you've got this gap where you want it, and then use either another wrench or a ratchet on the inner one, and this is what's actually going to flare it. And you don't have to kill it, and you don't want to kill it because it'll crack and break. So chain adjustment specifications on all this. So if you have any concern about your particular setup, look up the details and do it according to that. Depending on your bike, there's different ways that these things are marked. You probably can't see this, but every so often right here there's little indentations in this adjuster, and basically you can line this up with the end of the swing arm, the exact same spot on both sides. What you don't want is your axle twisted in either direction because one side's tighter than the other. The combination of that and then how much play is in your chain when it's adjusted. I like a little looser than too tight, because too tight will do all kinds of bad things. Wear your chain sprockets out faster. You can even hurt the output shaft here. The bearing that rides in can get too much wear and start having play and leak. A little looser is better. And also keep in mind, on a lot of bikes, when you go and tighten up the axle, even after you've adjusted this with what you think is enough play, when you tighten the axle nut, it's gonna introduce a little bit more tension in this. So leave it so you get some play there. And again, there are specifications on that, but half to 3/4 of an inch of play is a pretty good rule of thumb. Look it up, but definitely don't over tighten that. If you can't grab and wiggle that chain like that, you got it too tight. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten up the axle nut and put this cover back on, and we're pretty much done. Hopefully you got something out of this, and put some comments in if you have questions, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.